Hello. Right, so this is the first Q&A we've got of the whole festival, day one. So I'm Peter, part of the festival team, and I'm here with Evn Preston, who is the writer and director of The Stag. Welcome, Evn.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us. So this is a bit of a strange one. Your film is actually showing in a couple of days' time, but you're unfortunately not able to make the screening, so we've just got you here, and we're just going to ask you a couple of questions about the film.
Fantastic.
So first of all, tell us what's it about?
So The Stag is about a character called Liam Bradshaw, who is a bit of a playboy, a bit of a womanizer, and he attends a sex addicts meeting to try and pick up girls. And he thinks he's got the upper hand, but there he meets a girl who realises what he's doing and tries to spin it around on him.
There's a twist in the tale, isn't there?
Yes.
How did you come up with the idea of this film?
Well, I think it originated with this character of Liam. I've met a lot of chaps that are similar.
A lot of Liams.
Yeah, a lot of Liams. And I kind of took little aspects from people I know, kind of certain attitudes I've seen, and I started creating this character. And then from there, I started developing the story, and I had this kind of vivid idea for kind of a character in turmoil that's trying to put up a facade of being in control and coming across a certain way. So that's kind of where the inspiration came from.
How long did that idea take to come to you, or how long did it take to write the actual script?
Well, the script itself, so I started writing it in 2018, and I kind of, it didn't come to me fully realised to begin with. Because I thought the character of Liam Bradshaw was just too unlikable for film. He comes across as so arrogant, so kind of big-headed. It needed the right actor in place, so I was very stop-starty in terms of the writing process. But I restarted writing it when I met the actor Samuel Borowiak, who plays Liam in The Stag, and we talked about this character and started developing it. Right. And then I finished writing the script, and we started filming it in 2019.
Okay. So did you have this actor in mind the whole time, or was it sort of a lucky accident? You were looking for people when you found him and you thought he's perfect?
Well, I didn't when I started writing it, and then when I met him, because I was working on another project, and I was chatting to him, and there was just a few things he said, and I thought, oh, well, maybe he could play this character, and I discussed it with him, and we just went hit the ground running from there on in.
They're both the leads, if you like, as well. They're both very good. How did you find the actress?
Yeah, I mean, she was fantastic. We had quite a difficulty finding the right actress because we went through quite an extensive casting process, and we actually got Sam in for lots of chemistry tests because there's a lot of great actresses that we auditioned, but it was just looking for just the right chemistry between her and Sam, and Bryony, who plays Ella in The Stag, we just thought was fantastic, and we ended up casting her. Definitely had the right look. I think she was brilliant.
I'm interested. What is a chemistry test? What do you do? How do you work out whether they've got chemistry?
Well, it's a bit like a kind of a casting call. So we bring in the actors, but we actually have Sam there, and we just kind of have them reading from the script. What I would do is kind of have it without them having seen the script, and just see the kind of natural. So it's not like we're not worried about learning the lines or anything at that stage. Just the kind of eye contact between the two. Is there a spark there for the scene, and just that kind of thing. Really, it's you can tell instantly as well. There's a kind of a magnetic presence with those two.
Yeah, definitely. It wouldn't work if there wasn't. And between the two of them definitely does work. So let's talk about the shoot then. So locations, how long did it take, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the locations, that was actually probably one of the simpler parts of it, because a lot of it was filmed in some studios in Bristol.
Okay.
That we had easy access to. But there was, I think the most difficult was actually the final scene, which was in the studio, which was kind of after the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So because we started filming in 2019 and continued on to 2020 early, right before the pandemic, then it hit. We had real trouble getting a studio, and because of the COVID restrictions and everything, that was the hardest to secure. Especially because of the nature of the scene, and
Yes.
I won't spoil it for everyone, but there's some specific things that happen in it.
Yes.
Some spooky thing.
Yeah. Okay, so you started making it before the pandemic, and then what happened during the pandemic? You sort of paused, and you thought you wanted to release it afterwards until you got to festivals started opening again. Was that the aim?
So it was really annoying, actually. So we had literally all of it filmed except for the last scene, which is crucial to the film. So it was just kind of refining the edit of everything else, making literally everything that could be done before that, and then getting that last scene when we could, as soon as possible. But the aim was always to release it as soon as we could to festivals when it was out. But the actual the film itself will preview online in October.
Okay. Right. Okay. Have you played in any other festivals to date?
Yes, it has played in some. Let me think off the top of my head. It was.
Put you on the spot there.
Yeah. No. There was some in Greece.
Okay.
Some in America. Yeah. Some other UK ones.
Yeah, it's got some good coverage there.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not quite sure.
Is there any audience questions at this point? I've got some more.
What are your inspirations?
Just for the film as in a whole? Or?
For filmmaking life, and were there any inspirations that triggered this film?
Okay, so for filmmaking life in general, I'm quite inspired by kind of art and paintings. I remember right at the beginning of making the Stag, I went to Bristol Museum actually, and there's a huge kind of skeleton of a kind of a medieval deer, and it's really, really huge. It's quite a terrifying thing with these huge antlers. They're almost wing-like, and I found that quite inspiring for the project. But for the specific kind of films that have inspired the Stag, I think The Wicker Man is definitely a big inspiration. I mean, how can it not be? It's such an amazing kind of British horror film. Also, this was after writing the script, my friend pointed out Audition, which is a Japanese film. Yep. I hadn't seen it when I wrote it, but after watching it, it definitely inspired the way that I created it.
Hello. Right, so you talked about chemistry tests with your two leads, but the specifically thinking about the guy himself, he painfully reminds me of all the boys I've gone to school with. And my question is it that cheeky in real life, or is that just insane acting that he's like brought me back to the horrible years of school of like being surrounded by lads?
It's actually interesting you say that. It's one of the big questions I get asked whenever I show this film. He isn't like that at all. He's quite a quiet, considered guy, very thoughtful, intellectual even. But there was. I remember when I started speaking to him about it, there was just on it because we were in a bar chatting about this script. There was just something he said. I thought, yeah, that's a little bit Liam Bradshaw. So maybe a little taster of it, but then again, in most men, there probably is a little bit of a sprinkle there.
Hi, Ian. The character Liam, I mean, he's pretty obnoxious to me. He comes across as an obnoxious character. And clearly as a writer, you want him to come across this way. But did you consider, I mean, he's acting on his basic instincts. You know, as a society, we've got to be careful not to suppress that and always look down on that as a negative. did you consider showing him slightly in a more positive light, and rather than kind of making it feel to the audience, maybe it was just me, but making us feel like, oh, this character's terrible, he shouldn't be doing what he's doing, and I know he's way over the top, but did you consider looking at him in a more sympathetic light?
I really wanted to walk the line between the kind of the right and the wrong. I didn't really want to say this is either bad or this is good. It's kind of up for the audience to decide that at the end of the day. I kind of just wanted to put it out there. I mean, it's really interesting, the feedback that I've gotten from everyone that I've shown the film to, because some people are very feel as though Liam has been wronged in some way, and some people really feel as though he got what he deserved. So it's interesting. I would do it again the same way. I think in walking that line, it's a lot more interesting than taking one side and saying, no, this is wrong, this is evil. I think there's a debate that kind of needs to be discussed there, and I really enjoyed the kind of the feedback from the audience in that respect.
No, absolutely, and I think that's the one of the clever pieces of writing that you put there is the fact that it leaves it almost to us to decide on how we feel about that character.
Thank you for saying that.
What is next after the Stag? What are you working on now?
So I'm working on a couple of projects at the moment. The immediate one is a project called Sung, which is about a Vietnamese artist, and she kind of is struggling with a fractured relationship with her father, but also her artistic ambitions, and this kind of manifests itself in the form of these kind of nightmarish kind of hallucinations. That's the project I'm working immediately on, but I have some in the back burner at the moment as well. I'm writing a feature, and so the other short I've got in the works is kind of an adaptation of Dante's Inferno as well, but that's still early days.
Something light then. How do you fund your projects? Obviously, you're an indie filmmaker.
So the Stag was kind of basically funded off good nature, really. Everyone on the project worked on it because they wanted to work on it. There wasn't really a lot of funding. I mean, for the props and costumes, there was some money which I paid out of my own pocket, but most of the crew and the time, it was just through speaking to them and kind of trying to come across as, show my passion for the project and tell them why I wanted to tell this story. And luckily for me, everyone was really, really willing to do that. But for this new project, Song, I've approached the BFI and I'm waiting to hear back from the funding there.
Right. Wish you luck with that.
Oh, thank you.
What was your biggest challenge making this film?
There's one scene specifically which you'll know if you've seen The Stag. It's in a white space, and it's quite a haunting scene. Mm-hmm. Because of the nature of that scene, I'll just kind of I'll describe it a little bit. There's a creature in that scene that kind of commits a horrible act, and the costume there and the nature of the scene was a huge challenge. First of all, finding somebody to play this character was a real challenge, because Sam is quite a tall actor. He's about 6'3", and we had to find somebody. It was important to me that this creature was a tall person. So that was the first challenge. And they ended up getting an actor, Ryan Carroll, who is 6'4", so it's a tall guy, and then just kind of putting all of the makeup and stuff on him. I did that myself, and it took about 2 hours to apply all of that to him. It was a grueling process, but it was absolutely fantastic, because that was the same day that I met that actor as well. We'd only been discussing it over message up until that point. And a real champ, fantastic acting as well. But for the filming of that scene, because it's quite a serious subject, I wanted to approach it in quite a specific way. So it could be a little bit comical, obviously, because of all the costumes and stuff, and the crew, and I wanted to kind of get past that so I spoke to Sam, and I said, before filming today, would you be able to kind of just like isolate yourself from the crew, kind of get into your own headspace there, so it wasn't kind of affected by the crew's anticipation or whatever. And the same with the actor who plays the creature, Ryan. I took him into the kind of makeup room, I made him up, and I said, the rest of the crew hadn't met the actor who played the creature. And I just said, when I bring you into onto the set, I'll only refer to you as creature.
Right.
And it sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it really, you could feel it throughout the set. It was quite a haunting feeling. To kind of just amplify that, Sam had a blindfold on right up until we were ready to shoot. So the first time he sees the creature, it's real.
That's great. Do you prefer writing or directing?
Oh, fantastic question. That's really tough. I think my preference is more towards directing. I think I would go with directing, simply because I think there's just a feeling for me when it's on a set, a feeling that anything can happen. You're kind of changing things in real time. Working from a piece and trying to realise that properly. I mean, whenever I make a film, I also storyboard every single frame of it, drawing it myself. I have like a very specific thing in mind, so they are quite connected for me, the writing and the directing. But if I had to choose, it would definitely be directing.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. You sound like someone who's very hands-on and very sort of likes to get in there amongst it. What's next for the Stag? Are you going to other festivals, or what's the long-term or short-term plan?
Yeah, so the Stag has a couple more festivals on its bill, and then, as I said, it will be releasing online in October, and I'll do a little bit of promotion for that, and hopefully the internet likes it as well.
Yeah, we hope so too. Was there any other audience questions?
Anyone? Oh, hang on. Liam here.
Yeah. Hi. I just wondered if you have any advice for new filmmakers, whether it be the process of filmmaking, getting into festivals, or writing. You focus on the writer as well. So any advice would be very helpful.
Oh, fantastic question. For new filmmakers, I think you've just... So you said you want to go into writing, did you say?
Yeah.
I think just getting it down on the page, any possible way you can. The blank page is the enemy of every writer. I think sometimes for me, in visuals as well, what I have in my room that I write in, I have lots of pictures up. I print out lots of images, I can look at them, or even draw them. Just something that if you're kind of like losing the concentration, you look at those, you remind yourself what you're there for, what you're writing there for, and then you've just kind of got to sit down and write it, really, and get it down and show it to people. Don't be afraid of criticism. I think that would be my advice.
What's the inspiration for it?
Oh, that's a difficult question. Okay, so the creature itself is kind of it's a dark reflection of Liam. So what I found, as I was saying to you earlier, about this kind of particular subculture of men and this kind of lad culture, is it's kind of a shell protecting kind of an undeveloped emotional core, I guess. So the creature is kind of everything Liam doesn't want to face up to, really. So that's a little bit to do with his addiction. It's a little bit to do with how he views himself. I mean, the actual physical look of the creature as well, the inspiration for that. I looked at a lot of horror kind of creatures, lots of things like that. I wanted a really unique look because it so easily could look quite tacky or corny, and that's really not what I wanted. I wanted it to look kind of almost primeval, an aspect of a stag in there as well. You've got the antlers and aspects like that, and Yeah, so I think that, does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
One more here.
One more.
Hi, so what is your best budget saving tip
Ooh.
for making a movie?
So I think if you look at all of your contacts, go through your kind of contact book, think, who do I have contact with that can help me in this in any possible way? So if you go through your script, your budget or whatever, and you compare that to your contact list, you'd be surprised. So catering, you might know somebody from food or school or something like that that could maybe bring some food to set. If there's a location is a fantastic one for budget saving. I mean, if you know the right people, they can get you in most places, and they're more than willing to help you film there. And you may have to kind of do a bit of schmoozing, that kind of thing, but they will definitely. Most people are genuinely willing to help out with these things. It's, I think, the confidence to ask. Be a little bit cheeky, a little bit maybe of Liam in there, don't be afraid not to ask. I guess that's a double negative, but yeah, don't be afraid to ask.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of indie filmmaking, isn't it? You get so many people who say, I didn't have any money, but you just ask.
Yeah,
Just keep asking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Make yourself a nuisance, basically. Are there any others? I had one last one, if not. If you could work with any actor, who would it be?
Fantastic question. I think Willem Dafoe would, for me. Everything I've seen him in is fantastic. And he's had such an amazing career as well, spanning from kind of blockbusters to smaller independent films. And I've never seen a bad performance from him. It's an amazing career. Yeah, so
always memorable, aren't they?
Yeah, as well. Yeah, that haunting grin he has,
yeah.
Amazing, and the accent is just amazing. Yeah, definitely Willem Dafoe.
That's a great answer. Evan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
And
been a
well
pleasure.
done for making your film. And we obviously the audience will enjoy it. I know they will later in the week. So yeah, thank you for coming.
Fantastic.
Round of applause, please, for Evan.